As you guys can see, today's not really a day for driving, so we're gonna stay in the garage and do some modifications to the McLaren 650S. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to my midlife crisis. Before we jump into the video, I want to thank everybody for their support and watching the channel. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you like McLaren content, please subscribe to the channel as we go through the renovation of my McLaren 650S. One of the things I hate about European cars, and I didn't think I was going to have this with the McLaren, I had it with my Porsche 911 GT4, was the fact when I changed the tires, unlike American cars, there's no wheel studs to sit the tire on as you tighten the bolts. They just have wheel stud lug. Unless you have one of those adapters that sticks into the wheel stud hole, you're like sticking your legs underneath, trying to hold the tire up as you're trying to put it back on. You're trying to balance it and get that one in so that you can tighten the rest of them. So it's just not the easiest, and I don't know why in European cars are they just trying to save some money so that they don't have to pay for two parts, a bolt and a stud, and just go with lug bolts. I don't know what the real answer is. If you know what the answer is and why European cars do not have wheel studs, put the answer down in the comments below, because I've got no idea. All I know is it's a pain in the butt taking on and off tires without wheel studs. Here's the last one. So now I gotta get my legs up under the tire like this, like I'm having intercourse with my tire. And before I take out the very last one, I just have to have something that holds it up so it doesn't rip off the rotor and the caliper, which makes it a little bit awkward. And then you have this big thing in your lap, and then you have to scoot out. It just doesn't make any sense why there are no wheel studs. So let me show you my solution for this little stupid problem. The McLaren OEM wheel stud is 28 millimeters in length. That's it. So if you buy an aftermarket wheel, you need a spacer, want to mess with your fitment, you're kind of screwed. You have to buy longer lug bolts. I've decided to give these a shot. This is the BONOSS Forged Titanium Exposed Wheel Stud Conversion Kit. Not only are these titanium and light as heck, they're a little hot boy. They look really cool. They're already, the titanium has already been turned into that beautiful kind of rainbow blue, purple, gold spectrum color. But this is not only going to help us with putting those tires on and off, it's also going to help us with if we decide to go with any type of wheel spacer, adjust our fitment, because like I said, this is only 28 millimeters in length. These are a total of 75 millimeters and they're exposed. Now the reason I like them in the exposed format, it gives it kind of a motorsport look. I know that the blue nitrogen burnt titanium may not be everybody's flavor on a McLaren with black wheels. We are going to be making some changes to the wheels that complement this burnt titanium blue nitrogen look. But we're going to give these a shot. They come with a warranty. They come with all of the strength certifications for motorsports, as well as using as spacers. And I'm going to show you guys how to put the BONOSS wheel stud exposed conversion kit onto a McLaren. When I first went to the BONOSS website, it was primarily focused on the McLaren 570, the GT, 720, 765, kind of all the newer series McLarens, and I wasn't sure whether it was going to fit on some of the older McLarens, such as the MP412C or the 650S, but they've had great tech support. They've emailed me back and forth. We agreed on what size I needed, everything that you needed in order to fit, and so we're going to try them out, see how they fit, and show you the proper way to do a lug stud conversion on a McLaren. You do it correctly, you do it right, and your wheels do not fall off. All right, the very first thing that we need to do before we put the lug stud extension in is we got to clean out the existing lug nut holes. Make sure they're prepped and clean. The surface is ready to take the Loctite. All right, the first thing we need to do is we need to use some compressed air and just clean out the lug nut bolts. Make sure there's no shards of metal. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to get some brake cleaner and we're just going to spray it into each of the lug nut holes till it starts spraying out the back and the front. Let it soak in there. And now take a wire brush, take the opportunity to go ahead and clean off any surface rust or anything like that. Even though it's not part of the lug nut holes, it's just a good opportunity to clean the wheel hub. As you guys can see down there, the brake cleaner got out quite a bit of dirt and grime. We want to get those all clean. This is why we want to get, before we put the lug extension kit in, we want to make sure that's clean so we prep the surface properly. And now that we've got the brake cleaner in there, now we're going to use a little bit of degreaser. Could be any model. This is a Chemical Guys orange degreaser. So we want to spray that in the holes, really soak it. We're going to let that sit in there for about 10 minutes, let it drip out, soak in, penetrate before we start cleaning it out. Now this is going to seem kind of weird. I've got 5 Q-tips in my hand. If you have a thin dishwash, very soft, maybe like a vinyl or something, little brush that you can put in there, that's better to use. I don't have one, so I'm gonna be using Q-tips as kind of like a sponge and a cleaner for each hole. The idea here is that you clean the threads of the lug nut holes out, but you don't damage any of the threads. So obviously you need to use something soft. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wiggle it through and get off as much grime after the degreaser as I can, and I'm just using 1 Q-tip. There's no prescriptive here. 1 Q-tip, both sides per hole, and getting the earwax out. And as you can see, there's still more stuff to get out of the hole. Now this is the step that most people don't do that I do recommend, and that is to use a thread chaser from a tap and die kit. This is a 1/2-inch thread chaser, and what this does is we're just going to go through the threads in and out hand tight. If there's any loose debris or anything that needs to come out as we kind of prep the threads for the Lug Stud Extensions, we clean those out. And don't force anything, just be gentle, and it will screw in to the point where it stops, and then pull it on out. And continue that step for each lug hole. You can see I can't turn it anymore, and then I twist it back out. Okay, now after we've chased the lug holes with the thread chaser, we're just going to use a little bit more brake cleaner just in case we loosen up anything else in there. So again, just a little bit more brake cleaner. Clean out those one last time. Going back to our trusty Q-tips, and we're just gonna basically dry them out is what we're doing. Getting rid of anything potentially that's in there. And our last step before we do it is to just air them out one more time. Now we've got our lug nut extensions here, and put on some rubber gloves just because we're dealing with titanium. We don't want to leave any fingerprints or anything that is going to burn into it as it gets hot once it gets going. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to clean the back side here, or actually I'm going to do the whole thing, of the Lug Stud Extensions with some brake cleaner. Roll them a little bit. Let them dry, and then we're going to put them on in. You're going to have to get yourself some red Loctite. It doesn't have to be on brand. It could be a generic brand or what, but you want to use the red Loctite medium strength on the Lug Nut Stud Extension kit just to give it a little bit of extra strength in the lug nut hole. And you don't need a lot. You really just need to put a small bead of Loctite right straight line on the back of the threads. Give you a little close-up of that right there. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and put it in. To make sure it spreads on nice and neat, I recommend chase it all the way in hand tight and then chase it all the way back out. That way you're spreading the Loctite across all of the threads. Finally, hand tighten it all the way in. So let's continue that process for all 5 lugs. So now we got to torque the wheel stud extensions with a torque wrench. This is a 6mm Allen on the end here, and we're going to use 25 feet-pounds of torque. Very easy to round these off. Applying pressure and holding the center of the torque wrench as you torque them is a good idea. And you want to do them in a cross pattern. And then your wheel studs are torqued to spec. Now I need to put my money where my mouth is. Do the Lug Stud Extensions help me get my back tire back on, making it easier? Well, they will, but I'm also a weakling, so please don't roast me in the comments. Oh yeah. That was a lot easier. Now I don't need to hold on the tire as I tighten each bolt on the lug stud. That exposed look with the nitrogen blue poking through. Pretty nice. All right, let's get the lug nuts on. So the McLaren stock lug bolts are a 17 millimeter socket, whereas the new BONOSS are a 19 millimeter. So you will go up in a size with this Lug Stud extension. Right now we're gonna get the bolts on and tighten them up. And I don't use an Ugga-Dugga just because now it's titanium and we want to keep them as nice as possible. Again, with tightening the lug nuts, you want to go in a cross pattern, just like you would with any tire change. Right now we're just hand tightening them. Hand tight, now let's torque them up. So we're going with the same manufacturer spec as McLaren, which is 95 feet-pounds of torque. Again, in a cross pattern. And the last one. All right, tell me what you think. Do you like the exposed titanium stud extension kit for my McLaren 650S? I think it gives it a little bit of motorsport inspired theme. I do like the look, and it definitely was a lot easier putting on that tire. Tell me what you think of the BONOSS nitrogen blue titanium exposed lug stud extensions for my McLaren 650S. Do you like them? Is it an unnecessary modification? Please let me know down in the comments below. If you'd like to pick yourself up some BONOSS products, please visit www.bonoss.com. And as always, if you like McLaren content like this and you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a big thumbs up, and until next time, we'll see you later.